Awareness Deconstructing Consciousness. This is Karis Alexander with Deep Truth Media, Part 2. Awareness Deconstructing Consciousness, Virgo, the Cosmic Rift, and Freemasonry. World Trade Towers equals DNA. The All-Seeing Eye equals Aldebaran star, which equals the Rothschilds, which equals Taurus Constellation, which equals the Bull on Wall Street. In essence, astrology is the religion of choice for the power control force. They and their Freemasonry puppets are familiar with astrology, astronomy, and astrotheology. They in fact align all important commemorations, dedications, declarations, groundbreakings, and grand openings, and other events to coincide with astrological phenomena. Therefore, as we deconstruct consciousness in order to better play the game, we will use the astrological tool in order to, better understand the deeper meanings of the symbols and myths that play out on the physical world stage. In keeping with history, the spiritual and metaphysical consecration of astrology was conceived and implemented using ancient wisdom traditions passed to those founding fathers who were Freemasons. These Masonic brothers were the architects of everything from their vision of the world as fundamentally spiritual and the charter of documents they authored invoking God, freedom, and equality to the very streets and monuments of the nation's capital, including all government installations. It's important to note, as I mentioned in my last audio, to know that the USA was born on July 4th, 1776 under the stars of Gemini, that is the constellation of the Gemini twins, a sign occultly conferring brotherhood. The building of the USA was intentionally aligned to certain fixed stars, including most notably those of the constellation Virgo. Virgo constellation, in essence, emits waves of radio frequency. That is why they notably aligned most of the buildings in the US of A intentionally with the Virgo constellation because of the magnitude of waves of radio frequency that emit from that Virgo A or M87, a monstrous galaxy relatively close to Earth at the heart of the Virgo supercluster of galaxies. Now, it's important to note that the Virgo supercluster of galaxies contains the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxy. Now, as I mentioned in my last audio, the Statue of Liberty, I believe, is a symbol of the Virgo constellation, symbolically represented in New York City. By lifting her lamp, the Statue of Liberty receives a transfusion of Virgo power, as do all the symbols and power places in the US of A that are aligned and dedicated to the stars of the constellation Virgo. The Statue of Liberty is mounted on a Star of David symbol, which represents the atom symbol, which is the two forces of energy, yin and yang, symbols in plain sight. I also think the torch that the Statue of Liberty is holding represents Spica in the Virgo constellation. Spica lies very close to the center of the ecliptic plane. Spica in the Virgo constellation is the woman's left hand down, holding a craft of wheat that is represented as a torch in the Statue of Liberty. I believe they're one and the same. Spica lies very close to the center of the ecliptic plane, which is the belt of the zodiac, which keeps the zodiac constellations anchored and aligned with the celestial poles of the Earth. Spica is a very significant star in that when planets occult or are aligned with Spica, we experience these massive transfusions of energy coming from the Virgo constellation. The pulsations of energy reaching us from Virgo are like the heartbeat of the divine cosmic mother, aligning with our material bodies, vital signs, and those of the Earth Mother. What does it say about our Milky Way galaxy? The constellation Virgo contains a zone whose intensity rivals that of the conjunction of Sagittarius, Scorpius, and Ophiuchus, which lies in the Milky Way galaxy center. Now, this can probably tell you the importance of the Virgo constellation and why the monuments are aligned and the buildings are aligned with this Virgo constellation. As above, so below. Here I wanted to show you some of the symbolism that's also represented in the United States that is symbolized in our monuments. What we are really describing here, though, at a deeper level, is the flows of energies and the harvesting of energy into and out of the system of consciousness, as all matter comes into creation through the harmonics of these planetary bodies. When we understand astrology, we understand how energy is shaped, molded, and manipulated by the power control force, those that presume to run this world, through the structures and monuments around the world. For example, if we look at the new ground zero symbolism, we can see that it is fundamentally feminine in nature. You'll have to look at the blog post. I'm not going to post pictures in this audio. But if you look at the picture, you can see the square-shaped sacred geometry symbolizing the earth element and the pools of water element, negative or feminine, thus indicating from the conceptual feminine womb matrix of the mother. You can see that the ground zero monument, it looks like the reproductive system, I believe, or the pelvic system. I said, could the New World Trade Center memorial look like a female or male pelvic bone? And the next example that I give is that may help is to see that what I'm seeing symbolically, if we look at the reproductive system of the woman, do you see a resemblance of the ground zero memorial? The reproductive system also looks like what? The bull. Well then, let's look at it from the perspective of the bull on Wall Street. Do you see a resemblance? But more importantly, the deeper meaning or the reference of the bull on Wall Street or the pelvic or reproductive system from the ground zero memorial is really the constellation Taurus. Taurus the bull. Take note that not only the Pleiades star system is in the constellation Taurus, but the star Aldebaran, which makes up one of the bull's eyes constellation. In 1974, David de Rothschild married the Italian princess Olympia Anna Aldobrandini in Rue Calvados, France. They have 4 children. The Aldobrandini are an Italian family from Florence with close ties to the Vatican. They are considered one of the most evil families in the world. They are one of the families that started the modern day physical world system that we experience. Its Roman fortunes were made with when Ippolito Aldobrandini became pope under the name Pope Clement VIII. He arranged the marriage that linked the Aldobrandini with the Roman family of Pompili. They are another evil family that started this whole mess. Additionally, they were all linked to marriage alliances with the Farnese. Federico I, Duke of Parma, had married Margherita Aldobrandini and Borghese, another evil family that started this whole mess, along with the Farnese family, since Olympia Aldobrandini married Paolo Borghese. Just examples of this interbreeding of bloodline. But the Aldobrandini family is very important because I believe that the name Aldebaran, which sits right in the eye of the constellation Taurus, was named after the Aldobrandini family. And the Alpha Taurus, Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, is the all-seeing eye on the US dollar. Not the Ben-Ben's capstone on the Egyptian Sphinx or the Illuminated ones. The Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, is the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill. On the back of the US paper currency, we notice the all-seeing eye is the red giant, fixed star Aldebaran, the red eye of the bull, Carib in Taurus, the eye being in close proximity to the gate of man, where our souls supposedly enter the physical dimension. Souls don't actually enter and exit this physical dimension. It's just a concept. Alpha Aldebaran, or the Eye of the Bull, is a star that is counterbalanced on the other side of this zodiac by Alpha Scorpius and Taurus, or Ophiuchus, southern serpent of wisdom according to tradition. The Eye of the Bull is a red giant star, just like Antares, has 2 interpretations. It can be red, as in look out for the charging bull, or orange, as in Buddha perfect. The Taurus Scorpius polarity is significant that the gate of God, where souls are said to leave this physical dimension, is between the signs Scorpius and Sagittarius, and the gate of man, where souls enter this physical world, is between Taurus and Gemini. This all transpires through the mind of consciousness. I don't believe that the gates actually materially exist. They are energetic gateways or portals through which consciousness flows into and out of the universe in order to create all that we experience in this virtual reality matrix. The harvesting of the energetic forces of yin and yang are very real for the power control force, and astrology is a mechanism upon which they harvest energy in order to create and manipulate reality on the physical world stage. And so just like the ancients looked to the stars for omens, prophecy, and knowledge about the future fate of humanity, I believe we must look to the solar system for answers we are seeking in order to make sense of what is transpiring in our physical world stage. It only makes sense for us to use the tools the power control force are using in order to position ourselves to thrive in this changing world. Now that we have divested the Virgo constellation and the Statue of Liberty, along with the bull and the eye, the all-seeing eye of Aldebaran, let's look at the symbolism from the marquee of the symbol of the USA, the New York City's World Trade Centers, that expresses the Gemini twins as the male-female equal opposite energetic forces within each of us. More importantly, the twin towers really were symbolic of the double helix strands of DNA, except they're not twisted. DNA itself is a text, a program, a language, or data. In fact, DNA could be considered a world of science fiction. Yes, I am proposing that the twin towers really represented the double helix. From the standpoint of the molecular biology, DNA proteins and enzymes are described as miniature robots. Ribosomes are molecular computers. Cells are factories. DNA is a text or a program or data containing information which read and transcribes into messenger RNAs. The latter feed into ribosomes, which are molecular computers that translate the instructions according to genetic code. They build the rest of the cells and machinery, namely the proteins and enzymes, which are miniaturized robots that construct and maintain the cells. The bombing of the World Trade Center towers was symbolic to the power control force, those that presume to run the world, as a complete annihilation of the feminine energetic force, one with their new one world agenda, their new one world tower. So, in closing, when one grows in the truth and knowing that the very essence of who they are, one must realize that one has within itself all that it requires. One may accept from others suggestions, advice, bits of knowledge along the way, but with each of us, we can only be the judge of what we required at each stage. In the end, each of us must do our own work in order to stand on our own feet as sovereign beings. All the teachings in the world will not help us or help you unless you take matters into your own hands. Remember, whoever controls your mind controls your creation. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to read the blog post in the description, do so at your leisure.